Hello, everybody. Happy almost New Year, our last global travel update for the year 2025. That music reminds me of my childhood when I used to beg to stay up late on New Year's Eve, and now, of course, I'm forced to. But that music also reminds me of my parents got one of the first black and white TVs, and I remember on New Year's Eve sitting at home with my mom and my dad watching Guy Lombardo and his Royal Canadians live from the ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria, playing Old Lang Syne, and then watching the ball drop, not from Times Square, but from the Astor Hotel. Those were the days. I remember it just as clearly as it was yesterday. Of course, the Waldorf just reopened. In fact, we'll be broadcasting our CBS News radio show from there sometime soon in the new year. In fact, next month. But anyway, happy almost New Year, everybody. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without talking about what airlines do at the end of the year. They put out some bad news. They kind of bury it, right? So let's talk about that. American Airlines, without notice at all, now has ruled that if you're flying on a basic economy ticket, you get no mileage whatsoever. How about that? Delta did that last year, by the way. Now, it's hard enough to earn miles. It's ridiculous to redeem them. Which I'll get to in a second, but let's face it, I've said this before, I will say it again. Friends never let friends fly basic economy. There's no upside to it at all, and for about $30 more per leg, you don't have to put up with any of that crap. I'm not just talking about mileage, I'm talking about seat selection and a few other things. So try not to fly basic economy. And in fact, it's the first fare that usually pops up when you're doing a search on the internet. Please scroll down. Don't get stuck with just being motivated by what appears to be a low fare. Now, that's not the only mileage news. Last year, I talked about this. And by the way, the percentages haven't changed. 54% of all airline miles are earned on the ground, right, with credit cards affiliated with mileage programs. So that if you're going to get a 25,000 mile free ticket, that means you've already spent a minimum of $14,000 to get it, not mentioning flying for that you paid for the other 11,000 miles to fly to get it up to 25,000 miles. And that's assuming the airline's going to give you that. And of course, you're usually using a credit card that's affiliated with a mileage program that's got an average interest rate of 26% compounded. So unless you're paying your bills in full every month, by the time you ever get to that mileage level, and by the time they ever decide to give you the award, which isn't free anyway, you've probably spent between $3,000 and $4,000 in interest just to fly a ticket that might only retail for $300. It's nuts. Well, you want to get even more nuts? Guess what happened last week? Delta Airlines had a mileage redemption level for a flight from LA to Paris. How many miles do you think they wanted? One round trip. Yes, it was business class. But how many miles do they want? Are you ready? Who wants to guess? Whatever you're guessing is going to be way too low. Here it comes. 990,000 miles. Now, assuming you even had that many miles, if you were stupid enough to redeem that ticket for 990,000 miles, that means you would have spent the equivalent of about $540,000 to get that free ticket. In real terms, if you had $540,000, or if I had it, I could charter a G5 and take 20 of my closest friends to Paris. So what's the mileage dollar equivalent of a Delta mile? It's about Venezuelan currency. So if you're watching this at the end of the year, very, very excited about how many miles you've accrued, there's no point in holding them or hoarding them. Earn them and burn them. The airlines continue to devalue them at a very rapid rate. This has been going on for years. It's only going to get worse. And, the old saying that if everybody has status, nobody has status. It's even worse in terms of upgrades. 20 years ago, only 13% of the first class seats on Delta were sold. That meant, in theory, there are about 87% of the seats available for upgrade for their most elite flyers. Well, not the case anymore. Now it's just reversed. About 88% of all first-class seats on Delta are sold. But what about the remaining 12%? Are they available for elite upgrades? Well, I'll give you a qualified yes, and you won't be happy. Because while you have the right to get waitlisted based on your mileage or status for a complimentary upgrade, your odds of getting one, good luck. Why? Because Delta is now, those other 12%, they're auctioning them off to people who aren't even frequent flyers for as little as $26. So let's see if I get this straight. You're flying like a crazy person using a credit card to earn enough miles that you can't redeem, or to get status for an upgrade now that you can't get because they've given it to somebody else for $26 who may only fly once a year. What's the point? That's the rhetorical question for 2025. Just thought I'd share it. Okay. Now, in previous weeks, you've heard me talk about the Transportation Secretary and his comments about the golden age of travel and why we should all be better behaved. The CEO of Delta Airlines came out with an answer for this about why people aren't better behaved on planes. It's ludicrous. His reasoning is that the low-fare carriers are responsible for bad behavior on planes. Makes no sense. You know, there's a statistic I'm going to share with you, which might surprise you. Last year, 2024, we haven't read the statistic for 2025 yet, but I suspect it'll be more or less the same. 84% of the people who flew American Airlines only flew the airline once last year. We're talking about infrequent leisure flyers. Does that accommodate bad behavior or create it? No. What creates bad behavior is the airline's packing more people into coach. Your knees are up against your neck. The airlines have been talking from the top down to their frontline people saying no waivers, no favors. Service is in the dumps. Operational reliability doesn't exist. And people get angry. Now, you combine that with either people on their meds or not on their meds or overly medicated, and you have other problems. But to say the reason why people are badly behaving is because there are a lot of low-fare carriers out there makes no sense at all. No sense at all. Okay, here's what makes no sense at all as well. And this is not my dump on Delta Day, but it's a story that ran last week. It bears repeating. You know, there's something called denied boarding compensation. It's been around for a long time. But after the incident with Dr. Dow on United Airlines many years ago, when the guy was dragged off the plane when he had a bona fide boarding pass and he was already sitting in his seat, the airlines internally decided to fix that problem by authorizing their gate agents in situations of overbooking to offer people up to $10,000 to give up their seat in seriously overbooked situations. I've seen it happen. I've never received it, but I've seen it happen. Consider the story of a guy who was flying with his wife and daughter, or wife and child, I don't know if the sex, wife and infant child, on a flight from Salt Lake City to Palm Springs, California on Delta, and the flight was overbooked. And the flight attendant came on with a gate agent and said that anybody who wanted to give up their seat would get $15,000. Now, this reminds me of the old joke of the woman who goes up to, the man who goes up to a woman and says, "Would you sleep with me for $1 million?" And she thinks about it for a second and goes, "Okay." He said, "All right, would you sleep with me for 25 cents? And she goes, "Who do you think I am?" And he says, "Oh, you already know who you are. We're just negotiating price." So when it comes to people getting offered $15,000 to leave their wife and kid to get off a plane, everybody has their price. He talked it over with his wife and said, "Yeah, go for it, honey." So he volunteers. And he confirms before he gets off the plane with both the flight attendant and the gate agent that it's a bona fide offer of $15,000. So he gets off the plane. Now he's at the gate. His plane with his wife and daughter departs for Palm Springs. And then Delta tells him, "Oh, sorry, it's not $15,000, it's $1,500. Everybody heard them confirm it to him. Even at the gate, they confirmed it to him and then basically said, "Oh, we changed our mind." Disingenuous. Did he get the $15,000? He didn't. You know what Delta did? they gave him a voucher for, a few $1,000s and some additional mileage points that he could never redeem. Rule of thumb here, folks, and the moral to this story is if someone says to you, will you give up your seat for a ridiculous amount of money, and they work for the airline, get their first and last name, get a witness, record it. You have standing, because that's what induced you to get off the plane. Bait and switch doesn't work, but it happened in this case. Okay, now let me give you some good news. I've been yelling for a long time that airlines have been allowed to unrealistically schedule their planes, and that's creating some of the problems, right? If there's a runway that can only accommodate 23 takeoffs in an hour, which, by the way, that's any runway in the world, and the airlines are scheduling 30 or 40 departures for 8 o'clock in the morning, it stands to reason that a lot of people aren't going to be leaving on time. Okay. Then you get to your destination and your gate's occupied, and you're sitting out there for 40 minutes waiting for a gate. You're misconnecting passengers, you're misconnecting bags, crews are getting illegal on their time. It's a mess. And I've always asked, and by the way, there's not an airline executive who ever gave me a sufficient answer for this. If you take a look at the way gates are structured at airports, at least in the United States, next to every jetway and behind it, there's a penalty box, which means you can pull another plane there and deplane everybody manually through stairs, not the jetway. Passengers connect, bags connect, crews are on time, but airlines don't want to do it. It's a simple solution if you're going to play the stupid scheduling game to begin with. Well, congratulations, American Airlines. You finally figured it out. Starting next year, that's next week, they're going to start implementing, especially at DFW, they're going to try it there, to be able to deplane passengers alternative means, right? Either with buses or on the ground. And the turnaround times don't get affected. Planes don't get delayed. Passengers don't misconnect, and neither do their bags. What a concept. What American is also doing is they're fudging their schedule. They're adding minutes to every flight, which means they may not be realistically scheduling the actual flight time involved, but they're allowing people to reasonably expect they can connect on their flights. So take a look at that. American Airlines finally coming to their senses. Let's hope other airlines follow suit. Okay, now, it's the end of the year stuff again. Remember when Venice, to try to top over tourism, came up with a €5 fee if you couldn't prove you had a hotel reservation to enter Venice, and people paid the fee and came anyway, and they increased it to €10 this year, and people came anyway, so the overcrowding didn't stop. Now in Rome, starting in next year, remember that song, 3 Coins in the Fountain? 3 coins in the fountain. Lovely romantic song about Rome and the Trevi Fountain and making a wish. Well, if you want to make a wish there next year, you're going to have to pay $2.30 to approach the fountain. So bring extra coins. And by the way, is that going to stop people from coming? No, it's just generating revenue. It hasn't stopped the problem. All right. Now, because it's our last show of the year, I thought we'd have some fun and show you some of our favorite videos from just this week. Okay? So when I was in high school, we had a saying. It wasn't a very pleasant saying. It's about people who farted. We used to say, he who smelt it, dealt it. Take a look at the video that was taken on this particular flight when one passenger had so much gas, the entire cabin smelt it.
I pull up to the function, bitch just flew in from London. Don't need no introduction, cause I look so goddamn something. I pull up to the function, bitch just flew in from London. Don't need no introduction, cause I look so.
So much for baked beans as the in-flight meal. Okay, moving along. We're going to have some fun today. There's a hotel where a guy, we've heard of extended stay hotels. Okay. There was a guest in a hotel. He stayed about a month. And when he checked out, this is what the housekeepers found. Wow. That was a hotel in China, by the way. When they opened the door, 3 feet of trash and toilet paper piled higher than the toilet. Send in the hazmat team. Gee, I wonder if there's going to be a cleaning fee assessed. How about a complete reconstruction of the East Wing? All right, let's move on. And now I want to share with you, and we did this last week and the week before, we're going to continue to do this until we come to our reasoning that there was no golden age of aviation. A couple of airline ads from the 1980s. I want you to take a look and tell me if this resembles your experience then or even now. Here's the first one.
We're here to make you happy, we're out to make you pleased. You're flying Continental, your flights will be a breeze. We'll help to make you happy, we'll skip to prove it's true. On Continental Airlines, we move our tail for you. We really move our tail for you. To make your every wish come true. On Continental Airlines, we really move our tail for you.
Fly with us to Chicago on Continental Airlines. We'll do a little more for you a lot faster to make this the nicest flight you've ever flown. Like we say at Continental Airlines, we really move our tail for you.
We really move our tail for you. To make your every wish come true. On Continental Airlines, we really move our tail for you.
By the way, they had to pull that ad. Why? Because it was deemed sexist. We will really move our tail for you and make your every wish come true. But wait, we're just getting started. Run the next video.
Flying Continental today, sir?
No, not today.
You can't fly Continental?
We won't be flying with you. You'll miss that pub in the sky up high. We'll miss you up there too. You'll miss our movie show too.
The music, concerts, and sports, the shorts, and all our smiling crew.
Who's gonna treat you like we do?
Who's gonna move their tail for you? Time to say bye-bye to you. Time to take off and fly. Bye-bye. Wish you were going to. If you can't fly Continental.
Boo-hoo.
Boo-hoo, and bye-bye to you. But wait, there's actually one more which reminded me of something I really did enjoy on Continental on their old DC-10s. Of course, Continental's not around anymore, and neither are the DC-10s, but take a look at this.
Okay, I'll meet you later in the pub.
Hey, let's head for the pub. Excuse me, but what's the pub?
Come on, we'll show you.
Wow.
We'll show you.
Welcome to the only coach pub in the skies on Continental's wide-bodied DC-10s. You'll see how time flies when you're having fun.
On Continental Airlines, we really move our tail for you.
Woo, those were fun days. They didn't last long. Pub didn't last long either because the airline economists got involved and realized for weight and balance, they were losing so much revenue to pack another 40 seats in. And the pub went boo-hoo. Now, our next little video in our cavalcade of sports is from Delta. And a very interesting choice of music for this one, trying to let you know how great the flight is. Take a look.
Welcome to aboard the Elton 11 TriStar. Leaving all aisles clear.
Yes, Disco Inferno and burn this mother down. All right, moving on from the videos. We still have another video, but not from the airlines now. One of the more embarrassing moments is when you get to baggage claim and the bags are coming around the conveyor belt and somebody's opened your bag. Not just a little bit, a lot. And whatever you packed in there is a little bit embarrassing, and everybody gets a chance to see it. Like what happened to this woman.
That's not mine. Oh my God, Rick!
Yes, all the undergarments on parade. And then, so much for that. All right, now we got other stuff to talk about. And first and foremost, let's go to say hello to some people. Hello to Priya in Chicago, from Paul in Ashland, Virginia. Scott's in Chicago. Sue saying hi from Bellingham, Washington. Camilla always in Tucson. And Michelle's on Long Island, not far from where I am right now. Happy New Year to Patrick Cooney, who seems to be on the ground. Tim is saying, I heard from a pilot that there are a lot of ATC that have not and are not coming back to work after the shutdown. Guess what? Not necessarily untrue. You may remember that Donald Trump offered them, the air traffic controllers, a $10,000 bonus for those who worked during the government shutdown. It's a very interesting reaction that an overwhelming number of them declined the offer because the system still hasn't been fixed. The burnout rate is still very high. We'll find out those numbers probably in mid-January, and we'll let you know, Tim. Hello, Linda. Happy New Year from Chile, Naples. We'll be seeing you in New York and Florida for the travel shows this year. Good. I'll be looking forward to seeing you as well. Okay. Here's one. Peter, what is the next country you're going to visit that you've never been to? I can tell you that. It's going to happen at the end of January. In fact, we'll probably do our global travel update from there. And I would venture to guess that 99% of you have never been there either. I'll be broadcasting from the Kingdom of Lesotho. Anybody want to guess where that is? You're right. One of the 54 countries in Africa. It's landlocked in the middle of South Africa. So more on that when we get into next month. At the end of next month is when we'll be going. So stay tuned for that. All right. Someone's saying, hi from Maryland. I just downgraded my Chase Sapphire Reserve card. I just no longer see the value with an $800 annual fee. You're going to find that with all the cards now. The American Express Platinum, Capital One Venture X, a lot of them, you have to really do the math. And, it's sort of like a bad gift card you never use or a bad gym card you never go to. You got to do the math and see if it works for you. If all the perks that they're offering you are things you actually are going to use anyway, not that you'll use just to get the perk or to justify the $800. So I understand what you're saying. Hey, our good friend Bruce Siegel saying Happy New Year. Right back to you in Liesl, Bruce, back in Palm Beach. Patty's saying mileage trip this month from Miami to St. Croix to Ord to Chicago, 23,000 miles. Patty, you're saying you did a mileage run just to get status? Remember what I said. If everybody has status, nobody has status. I need you to report into me maybe by June of next year if you thought the mileage run was worth it, okay? Jim and Harriet saying hi from Richmond, Virginia. The show wouldn't be the same without you guys. Hi, Peter from the DC area. I have saved the last edition of United Hemispheres magazine before it went the way of the dodo. Have you collected any airline magazines? I have to admit this. I collected all of them before they went away. The Continental magazine, American Way, Hemispheres from United, Delta Sky. Yep, none of them are with us anymore, at least in this country. Yep, they were great, right? They really were great. All right. Matthew's saying, I am planning a trip to Iceland for the first time this March. Any recommendations on things to see and do? Yeah. Number one, you've got to check out, everybody wants to go to the Blue Lagoon, the thermal amazing baths. Check out the Sky Lagoon. It's a so much better experience. And then in town, in Reykjavik, downtown is not a big walking experience, but there's things to see. And you'll find a very small store there with a father and son watchmaker. They do amazing handmade work, and their watches are so beautiful that everybody from Mick Jagger to Bono and everybody else have made actually unscheduled stops in Iceland to go buy one of their watches. And they're not outrageously expensive. So check that out as well. And if you can, do the helicopter trip, because wherever you're going to land, the ground, 95% chance will be hot. 98%, I think, of all the heat that goes to all the homes in Iceland is underground. It's just amazing. Check that out. Okay, Scott's saying, what would you hope would be the New Year's resolution for the FAA? My New Year's resolution or theirs? Their resolution, of course, is to keep going. My resolution is for them to be completely reorganized, completely restructured, and completely redefined to do the job and the mission they were supposed to be doing when they were established by an act of Congress 90 years ago, and not promote the business of aviation and not think the airlines and the manufacturers are their clients. We are their clients, to get the staff and budget necessary for independent, strong inspectors and staff, so that you're not delegating that important work to the people who actually make the stuff. How can Boeing inspect their own planes? It's ridiculous. We haven't even talked about maintenance work that has to be inspected. That is not being inspected now. So that would be my first resolution, but I'd go beyond that and include the DOT, so that from policymaking provisions, they do stuff that actually sticks in terms of what? How about airline passenger rights, which the administration just killed again? We need it formulated. We need it in place. We need it clearly detailed and delineated so the airlines know what they cannot get away with. And that's and that there are severe financial consequences if they try. And then when that happens, an amazing thing happens. The bad behavior stops. So that's my New Year's resolution. All right, Michelle says, earlier this month, our Delta flight from Fort Lauderdale to LaGuardia was delayed to windy weather in New York, and Delta sent us a food voucher. Okay, better than nothing, but here's the problem. How much was it for? $12? You know what $12 gets you at LaGuardia or at Fort Lauderdale? A picture of an Auntie Anne's pretzel. Come on, not good. All right, Randy's saying, hello from a very cold and snowy Ann Arbor. Great New Year's to you too, Randy. Evelyn saying hi from Bogota. All right. Boston Bob is saying, can't wait to cruise again on Virgin. Patty says the Trevi fountain was roped off a long time. Yes, they were fixing it. And now that they're reopening it, it's going to cost you $2.30 to throw more coins in there. Okay. Zygmunt, thank you for your nice note. Linda says, I'm going to France in April. Am I correct in thinking the EU visa program won't be up and running then? You're right. It's probably going to kick in at all, and they keep saying it's going to happen in 2026. It'll happen maybe by June 15th. All right. Wendy's saying hello from Chile, New Jersey. Patty's saying the Braniff ads are unforgettable. They are. Okay. Mostyn saying, what are my thoughts on the transition towards digital ID checking, especially in Europe, efficient or invasion of privacy? I have to tell you, so far, it's been great. The whole e-gate system in London and in the rest of Europe is kicking in. No more, 3-hour lines to get through passport control in so many cases. You got to love it. Okay. Scott saying the Continental Boohoo song is going to be stuck in my head for days. Well, that was the whole idea when they did the commercial back in 1985. Boohoo, we won't be flying with you. All right. Alexander saying greetings from Zurich. No snow here affecting the ski season. Thanks for that report. All right. Vivian saying hi and Happy New Year from Drexel Hill. Any plans to travel to the stand countries? Yes, we'll be announcing that in the middle of January. We're going to be doing some reporting from a number of them, as a matter of fact. Okay, Wendy says, what's the best time to book my multi-city flights to Europe for October of 2026? Well, if you can do it now if you want. Do it on Google Flights. At least they can track the fares, and if they drop, they'll alert you. But keep in mind, well, what you're saying is Newark, Amsterdam, Charles de Gaulle, Newark. That's pretty easy. What I would suggest is think about the train too. So maybe you're just going to do Newark, Chicago, a Newark round trip to, let's say, Amsterdam, and then take the train, or a Newark round trip to Charles de Gaulle and take the train. You might be better off in terms of fares. And Michelle says, oh, the voucher was $15, but I used it outside the airport after we finally got back. All right, so you got 2 pretzels. Carol says, does it make sense to buy 2 one-way tickets instead of round trip to Europe since there are more empty flights leaving Europe? I can't give you a qualified yes or no. Every flight is different based on those load factors and based on the market. Sometimes it is better to buy 2 one-ways than round trip, especially if you want to protect yourself with your own schedule changes, right? If you want to buy a round trip and you know exactly the day you're coming back and that's not going to change, okay. But if you don't, and the 2 one-ways are cheaper, protect yourself that way. Wendy says we're going to be taking the train from Amsterdam to Brussels to Paris. My point exactly. All right. Now, one more note I want to share with you before we run out of time. And I'm not saying this is a political statement at all, but it's a practical statement. You know, if you're traveling, and I've said this before, try not to post where you are when you're there. It's a complete advertisement to anybody else in the world that you're not home and you're vulnerable, right? I mean, wait to show everybody the pictures when you get back. Same thing about something else, which most people don't think about. This is a story that just happened recently. And by the way, it's happened on both sides of the political aisle. A passenger who was a MAGA supporter posted a picture of his boarding pass, innocent enough, claiming that because of all the money he's saved and made under the Trump administration, he was able to afford a trip to Europe. Guess what? Someone could take that information, and someone did, because that information on his boarding pass had his confirmation number, that 6-digit or 6-letter code, had his name, had all his flight information. You know what they did? They called the airline and canceled his flight because they didn't like his politics. It's happened to the Democrats as well. I'm not being political here. Don't post your boarding pass. I don't care who you voted for. Someone's going to get out there and punk you in a not very pleasant way. Don't reveal all that information, okay? Anyway, just so you know. One other thing you got to watch out for, especially at this time of the year, we all know about baggage theft, right? Bag thieves at airports don't steal the bags. They steal individual items from the bags. But guess what? They're now stealing individual items from bags in overhead compartments on the plane. If you're traveling with a carry-on bag with cash or expensive jewelry or valuable items that have a market value, you might want to put that bag under the seat in front of you. It may give you less leg room, but if you're sleeping on a flight, what's to prevent somebody from opening that compartment and rifling through your bags? We're seeing it happen more and more. On one recent Singapore Airlines flight and an Etihad flight, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars missing from overhead compartment bags, right? In one case, they caught the guy. In the other case, they didn't. So just be aware of that. Just things to think about. All right. All right. Here we go. Oh, I know what we have to do. Excuse me. I forgot. We got to go to the photo of the week. And you'll love this one. Look carefully. How cool is that? Can you see what it is? All right. It's Steve Walker who did this. He said the cat photo was the first I took in Ankara, Turkey on my first day there about a month and a half ago. It was around the corner of the hotel on the other side of a barrier. I like how the slats parceled out the cat body. And as I happen to know, and Steve knows as well, cats are the uncrowned kings and queens of Turkey. They're everywhere. And there's so many, by the way. They're in shops and outside shops, on the streets and at the store, at Roman and Greek ruins and mosques and museums and at rest stops. Of course, even the rest stops which sell cat food. To abbreviate the name of a James Bond character, there are cats galore. Oh, you're dating yourself, Steve. And anyway, thanks for that photo. We love it. And if you think you've got a photo that qualifies as the photo of the week and you want to get up there with Steve's, you know what to do. It's photo contest at petergreenberg.com. And if we agree with you, it goes right up there as well. I want to wish everybody a very happy holiday, but not before I tell you about our upcoming speaking engagements. I'll be speaking all over the country starting January 11th in Seattle. That'll be at the Travel and Adventure Show. And as you can see from that calendar there, it's in Seattle, New York, Chicago, Fort Lauderdale, Long Beach, in Santa Clara, in Dallas, and in Denver. I hope you'll come and join me, and I'll look forward to seeing you there. In the meantime, next week, I'm going to give out my awards for the stupidity of 2025 travel in all phases, airlines, hotels, cruise lines. We should have some fun with that one. And of course, I hope you'll do the responsible thing and do what I do tomorrow night. Order Chinese in, be in bed by 10 o'clock. Why stay up late? Why? The most overrated holiday of the year, other than Valentine's Day. Just saying. But I do wish everybody here a 2026 that will be happier, healthier, and if it's not asking too much, saner for all of us. I want to thank Anthony Protas for doing the boards out in California today. I wish you a happy new year as well, Anthony. Great work for the year. And next week, we're going to do something else. We put together an animation of everywhere I've been in 2025. How many flights I've taken, how many countries I've been to, how many miles are actually accrued. If you want to guess, I'll tell you the answer next week of how many flights, how many countries, and how many miles. And the animation could be kind of fun. Other than that, have a responsible and safe New Year's Eve. Remember food insecurity, everybody. It's not just over the holidays. It's every time and every place in this country. Do your best to work with the food banks and to donate and give what you can. Food insecurity is a huge problem, especially for children going hungry every night. This is the time, not just for holiday spirit, but to do it all year round. Help out at the food banks and help the people who need it the most this and every time of the year. Have a very happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you next week from about 3,000 miles away. Have a great New Year. See you next week.